What's going on, everybody? It's Joey Value TCG. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, SPs. What you see on the screen today, we're going to go just over a small portion of this. There's a lot happening in the SP world for One Piece. I would really recommend for you guys to just go check out, what you have in your collection and see how crazy those prices have moved, because there's been some wild swings. But we are going to be talking about some of the most sought after cards today. Like, comment, subscribe, and we are just going to get right into it. So first and foremost, if you haven't checked prices in a while, I think you'll probably be very shocked, especially for especially for like those of you guys who just collect for your own collections and you don't really keep a tab on prices. Like myself, I tend to keep tab on prices on some of the lower end cards, some of the stuff that's like kind of meta, swinging in and out of meta, so that I get a good sense of what's selling today. But this to me is insane. So I think right now there is an absolute rotation, like huge dollars of money coming out of Pokemon and right into One Piece. There might be a little bit going into Riftbound, but if you're kind of looking across the board at other games that are like doing even relatively well, first of all, there's not that many, but there's also going to be, just not that many games that are doing well that have a avid collector's base, right? So like Magic doesn't really have that, for example. Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't. I mean, there's just not that much money in Yu-Gi-Oh. So I think a lot of people who are, let's say, collectors or investors in cardboard like I am, obviously, there's just not that many options to put your capital, if not in Pokemon. And One Piece, I think, is probably the best one. So, as an alternative, I should say. But look, $250 2 months ago, right? And if you look behind that, like almost extremely consistent. I mean, $300 around release date, coming back down a little bit, like very consistent. And now, boom, you're double, right? $500, 505 for the lowest price copy. Yep, lowest price copy. There's just 3 copies at this price, and then it starts jumping to $550. So absolutely insane to me. And we are not even at Black Friday yet, right? So Christmas, December, this is when stuff really gets crazy. We're not like even we still have 3 weeks to go of people looking to buy cards for Christmas presents, or spending that holiday bonus that they know they have coming. So we're really early stages here, and I really like this card. I've been kind of talking about this card as well as some of the other ones that we'll go over today at length, and so hopefully you guys picked up a copy here. The other Nami, I mean, this is one of 3 Namis that we'll talk about right now. So the other Nami, Awakening of the New Era OP05 Nami. I mean, this is the original like Chase SP Nami card. So not surprising that this one is also following up as well. But it's not at the same cadence as the other Nami, right? Like prices went from 175 to 250. So like, what is that, like 50% increase? Slightly under, not 100% increase. So not the same cadence, but still like a very sought after card. They did print a lot of OP05, so I wonder if that's also part of the reason why this one is not doing as well. And of course, the Namis in OP, or the Nami and SPs in general, I should say, in OPO 9, you do have to compete for the SP slot with wanted posters. So there's that. And then Nami from from 500 years in the future, the O Nami card. I think this is actually my favorite Nami card from an SP perspective. I really just like that scene in the background. Looks like it's New Year's. They have like the Japanese, at least a variation of the Japanese kimono. I'm not sure if they kind of wore this type of kimono back in the day. This might be looked slightly frowned upon for how much it shows, but maybe the lack of fabric. It does get kind of cold over in Japan in the winter. So anyways, so 205, pretty good price. Yeah, this is also up. This is up like 30-40%. I think there's still some runway here, right? Like, yeah, I mean, 170 during last Christmas time frame, now down to 130, and then right back up to 200. So I think there's probably still some runway here. If you want to pick up a copy, I would not be opposed to it, to be honest. And then we go into the Boa Hancocks, also known as Boa Cock, on this channel. We love her. She's great. I just got back my PSA graded Boa Hancock manga art that you guys saw me open on this channel. Thank goodness it came back at PSA 10. I think it's worth like $1,800 right now, which is absolutely crazy. When I opened up that booster box, I think it was like a $400-$500 card. So a lot of demand here for just maybe across the board for Boa Hancocks. And this card, look, they didn't print that many OPO4s. Like, they had that small reprint, but frankly, the reprint hit mostly for OPO1, OPO2, and OPO3. So they did not, actually, did they reprint OPO3? I think they did, but I know that they didn't really reprint OPO4, at least in size. So, look, $400 for this card. This is an absolutely beautiful card. I understand why it's so expensive. I'm just surprised because, look, it was $150 last year, and then you had this crazy, not super crazy, but relatively steady eddy growth into 220, 230. I was just like, oh man, that's really expensive. And then lo and behold, now it's $400 a card. It does make me kind of wonder how sustainable this price is. This is a 2X, right? 2X. But again, didn't really reprint OPO4. It is pretty rare, and it's a really nice looking card. So I get it. I get why it's expensive. And then not this one though. This one. So if you were surprised about the Nami from Emperors in the New World, you, my friend, are in for a shock for the Boa Hancock SP from OPO9. $640? $640 for an SP card? Excuse me? This is expensive than manga arts out there. This is expensive than the Silver's Rayleigh 2 Legends manga art. This is expensive than, I think, the Snake Luffy manga art. This is more expensive than the predominant chase for whole sets out there, which is insane. I knew this is a sought after card, but I did not see the acceleration coming. $200 2 months ago, now $640 today. Absolutely wild. This is a really good looking card. I think the best looking Boa Hancock SP card for a number of reasons, at least a couple that I can see right now. But I think this is going to be maybe, I don't know. I mean, it might be a peak. Let me just double check, guys, because booster box prices haven't really trended higher. $220 $20 a booster box. If you have SPs that are $600 to chase plus multiple manga arts, I mean, cases of this box should be like double. Like maybe like the EV on this, I'd imagine at this price is starting to go positive. That's crazy to me. Wow. What about a case? Yeah, I mean, the case isn't that much more expensive, 2,600 bucks. I mean, I doubt there's going to be a reprint coming, but anyways, moving onwards. So this one, also Boa Hancock's, $690. Not as good looking, in my opinion, as a prior card from OP09, but this one is definitely much rarer. This is from EB02. They just didn't print very much of EB02 at all. There's 2 copies of this available. One from Sticky Rice with 87.5% positive ratings. I would never buy from this guy. Anything below 97% on TCG player just means the guy is probably pretty scummy. Fellas TCG though has one available at 700. Let's look at sales. Yeah, there's been sales at 700, 600. Anything listed under 700 just gets snapped up. So wait, this is, yeah, oh wow, 700 for a lightly played copy. That's crazy. So there's just not that many copies of EB02 SPs. If you can get these for cheap right now, somehow pick them up. Doesn't have to be Boa Hancock's, just any of the SPs from EB02. Pick those up. They are valuable. We move on to Juro $200. Yeah, even Zoro's moving up, right? $150 a couple months ago, $200 today. Not the crazy acceleration that we've seen. Can we even add this? Oh, that's not. Oh my god, this is not a real price. Yeah, so sales have been at $250, but the lowest copy right now is $500. Yeah, so this boy is moving. This boy is moving on up. Wow. Any Emperors in the New World SPs, maybe in general, if you can find those, buy those if you can for cheap. Edward Newgate from OP04. Yeah, 0409 seems like just doing really, really well. So $150. This was like a $50 card 2 months ago. That's crazy. That just 3x'd. The other Newgate SP, I think this is a better looking one versus the last one. I just like these scenes, much more colorful, much more character baked into them. And yeah, $125. It's moved up, right? Like $100, but I think this is the best SP chase from OP 10, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else out here. OP 10 criminally underrated for how good these SPs look. And then we move on to the wanted posters. I took a look, and wanted posters across the board are moving up. But I really hope you guys picked up a copy of this. If you guys remember, I was kind of calling this card out when it was like $80 around release time. Like, hey, I think this is going to go far. You know, if you pick this up for $100 or whatever, like, will be very good. Well, looks like, you know, it turned out to be right. I guess I remember there were copies under 100. Maybe it wasn't as low as $80, but definitely copies under 100, especially around release date, hovering around $150. Now $321 for the Laughing Wanted poster, Laughing Luffy Wanted poster from OP09. Oh boy, what a beautiful card. I'm glad I picked one up. And then we have Shanks, same thing, also moving on up, $150. This, I'm sure this is a fake listing. What is happening with TCG Player? Like, there's a bunch of fake listings, like, that's moving to the top here, right? Like, for a lot of things. I don't know. And then The wanted poster from Pillars of Strength, I think this one's going up because of rarity. This was around $100 for a while. Now it's $182. I just personally don't think it looks that good. It's not in the style that I like. This is the style I like. It's like this one's manga adjacent or anime adjacent. This one they just like kind of slapped it together, right? I don't think it looks all that good, but $182, you know, it is a very rare card, so you know prices are moving up. And then lastly, guys, if you guys see this, this is a wanted poster from OP13. I would wait for the big old reprint to hit before you really want to pick up a couple copies of this, or maybe even wait till middle of next year when people are trying to cycle cash out from OP13 into, you know, something else, right? OP15 or whatever. But $500 for a new wanted poster is way too expensive. I know this is really rare. I know it's hard to get. I know, like, you know, there's a lot of demand for Carrying On His Will. And of course, it does share the SP slot. But $500 for a newly released SP, I would just stay away from that. I think that's just way too expensive. Yeah, I mean, the Luffy is much more normal at $160. Anyways, that's all I had for you guys today. Hopefully you guys are, you know, like you have a good collection of SPs and you're thinking about selling them, or maybe you're grading them and then, you know, using that for liquidity for something else. Hopefully you guys got into some of these cards early, especially, you know, I've been talking about some of these cards for a long time. Hopefully you guys had picked up a couple copies here and there. And for those of you guys who did pick those up, you know, congrats. You guys you guys are freaking absolute beasts. Good job, everybody. Anyways, thanks so much for listening to me today. And yeah, I wanted to get this video out a little bit early because I'll be traveling again this coming week for work. But thanks for listening. And I will talk to you guys next time. Put in the comments below if you guys have any of these guys, these in your collection, these cards, I should say. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.